What up?
What up, dude? What up?
How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I spent Friday and Saturday out in the woods of Virginia, fly
Nice,
fishing, going after
nice,
some
man.
brookies.
You're a
Almost
year
stepping
older.
on. I am a year older. But I feel 2 years older.
It's funny you say that because I feel kind of the same way. I did 2,200 steps yesterday on September 11th. And for everyone listening, we're recording this on Sunday, September 12th. And I woke up hurting uh, a lot this morning. It was hard to go down the
tomorrow,
stairs.
tomorrow's gonna be real special for you.
Yeah.
Real special for
Well,
you.
I'm curious, like, what have you noticed any difference, changes in the 40-year-olds, the 40, 41, 42 year old stage of life?
Yeah, the big thing I noticed is I I feel like it set on at 40, but I used to be like good to go to bed around 11, 12 o'clock at night and get up at 5 and just like not, just wasn't really an issue.
Yeah.
And now, dude, I'm like, that's just not working for me. Not even close. Like not even close. So I need to and for doing that I think I've been doing that since like the Naval Academy, right? And I just think, yeah, now I have to kind of shape my whole life around this need for potentially 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Like I know that's not an issue for you, but like that's something that I've seriously noted. That's something that has been a significant impact because a lot of mornings I just wake up and I'm just like, and my back hurts, man. My back is something that's never been an issue. My lower back, I'm like, why is my back hurt all the time? But I think a lot of these football and all that kind of stuff is kind of coming back.
I've noticed a lot more of
What?
ear hair.
Your hair, huh?
Ear
No,
hair.
hair is not a, well, actually, talk about hair. I've noticed that my chest hair and my back hair are starting to connect. That's it. It's like they're bridging the gap. Like they sent out like scouts, and I don't know if the back sent scouts to the chest or the chest sent scouts to the back, but I noticed that there's a migration, and it's not even a migration; it's a proliferation. Is probably the
Nice.
more ample, but it's not got in my ears yet. So good luck on that. Maybe I'll buy you one of those like those little.
Oh, I
Those
got
little
one,
like.
dude. I
You
got
really?
one. Oh yeah. One for my nose hairs and one for my ear hairs.
Dude, you are so. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what life is
huh.
coming to, man.
Ear hair, nose hair, proliferation. Congratulations, Stuart. It's telling you
Yeah.
that you made it. You made it.
Congratulations. Happy birthday, friend. Hope you had an
Thank you, my
amazing
friend.
birthday. So did you catch any fish?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. Yeah,
Good, man.
yeah, I did.
Good. I got
Yeah, I
to
almost stepped on a snake, man. There's a big
uh-oh.
old snake. I thought it was a copper. Yeah, I don't know these. I don't know. I'm used to the out west, where they rattle.
Yeah.
If it's an issue, they rattle at you. And so I thought it was a copperhead at first, but apparently it's a northern water snake. I
Oh,
don't know, but it was a big dude, and of course I had to grab its tail because like that's what you do when you don't know if it's a poisonous snake or not. Or a venomous snake, you try to pick it up. But it was big, like it was a big snake. So it was awesome, man. I had a good time.
nice, man. Well, the other I have to tell you the story because I think it fits with where we're going with today. Is I was I think it was Friday, or I think no, maybe Saturday morning. I was up early doing just kind of some research, reading, kind of put some thoughts together for this. And my son Wells wakes up super early. It's like 5 o'clock. And he comes down the stairs and walks into my office, and he just comes and sits in my lap. And I'm rearranging the office, and I had my coffee cup with my for my squadron with my airplane on there. He's like, "Daddy, is that what you flew?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I flew helicopters too, like the one back there." He's like, "That's the Nighthawk." He's like, "Yeah, that's the Nighthawk." He's like, "What do Nighthawks do? Do they fly at night?" It's like, "Yeah, they fly at night sometimes." It's like, "And they save people, right?" It's like, "Yeah, they save people." It's like, "What? Why do they save people?" And it's like, "Well, a lot of times, like, we go and help people that are maybe hurt or sick or in trouble." And like there's like this long pause, and like you could just see his brain like just working. And it was like he was real serious. And he's like, after a couple minutes, he's like if there's a rhinoceros with a big horn in front of you.
Yep.
So
Exactly like that.
I was like, "Yep, exactly."
Just like that. I can't
Nighthawks,
tell you how many people I've saved from the rhinoceroses
rhinoceroses.
that are right in front of you
Yeah.
with the big
So
horn.
with
That's
the big
awesome.
horn. Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
interesting, man. Kids, I've so we went to New York and took our kids to the 9/11 memorial before I moved them back to Colorado this summer. And the kids' reactions was very, I mean, it was interesting. It's overwhelming, right? And when I don't know if you've been to that memorial yet, but
I've not.
the memorial and then the museum are just, I mean, it's very sombering. It's intense, and there's a lot of, when you go down to the museum, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of silence and reflection, but there's also um, a lot of stimulus when you go into like there's a section that has like the fire trucks and the TVs are going and the images and all that, and it was pretty overwhelming. But the fact that then my kids tied it to my birthday, and the
Mm.
conversations I've had with Jakey have been uh interesting, but getting like explaining it and talking about that day, and then how in their minds he's connecting, like, well, why is your birthday like on the saddest day of, he's
Mm.
working through these questions, but it also is opportunities to talk through this stuff. And I tell you, it's intense, man. It's interesting when you start talking to the kids about, they've been asking a lot more about war um and just kind of those experiences, and I don't ever want to shut any of that off or shut them out of it, but they're interesting conversations, to say the least. And yeah, man, it's, so as they get older, it transitions from rhinoceroses with big horns to these kind of insightful questions, but also, man, it's not, they're not easy to talk about, which is
Yeah.
interesting, because you want to frame it in a way that they understand, but you also don't want to minimize it, right? and
Yeah.
and so I've been kind of struggling working through that. And I mean, they're very blunt, like, asking questions, like, and for me, my answers are different, my experiences are different, but a lot of our listeners, Navy SEAL, special operators, people that spent a lot of time over there, the majority of their careers, Marines, some of our Army folks, and potentially had to, take lives and saw friends killed, and those conversations too. I mean, Jake's very blunt. He's like, "Daddy, did you kill anybody?" And you're like, "Wow, man, like,
Yeah.
you're not beating around the bush, man. Like, you just right into it." Um, so it's just really been eye opening for me, and also, uh, I just pray for the dads and the moms out there that would, having these conversations with their children, and their experiences may have been vastly different, more impactful, more intense, and just working through those conversations, because they're curious little beings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But
good, man. I well, for today's, podcast episode, we thought, we would just honestly just do a little reflection, for 9/11. The last, man, it's been 20 years. It's been 20 years since that happened.
Crazy, man.
Um,
Well, and I think it's interesting because, and one thing I was, wanted to ask you about is kind of, go back to the beginning. But I mean, that was our senior year at the academy, right? 2001, going into 2002, we graduated, and now we're literally at the point of, the door of retirement.
yeah,
So that has defined our military career, like literally from the get to the getting out.
yeah,
And it's kind of crazy to think of that. It's to think of it that way, and the kind of the opening and closing of a significant chapter in our nation, but also for our military careers. And I don't know, man, take me back. Where were you? Do you remember where you were and what you were doing?
I do. I was in between classes when at first, we first got the notification that it happened. I can't remember the building I was in, but I was going from one engineering class to another, and I was in the halls, and they one of the halls had like a TV where they kind of had like news going, and we kind of all were told what had happened. We were all kind of just surrounded by TVs and kind of watching, you know, initial strike, and then I think we were all told to start heading back to our rooms, um, to kind of hunker down. And then, obviously, like the rumors start kind of flying, and we're all talking to each other back in our rooms. Classes were canceled, which at the time, as a college student, you're like, woohoo, classes canceled. But once then you kind of figure out what's going on. You're like, oh man, this is real. Um, and I also I remember feeling like nervous, um, angry, and um, almost like excited at the same time, because I knew we were graduating soon, and I knew that, like, graduating from the Naval Academy, and I was going to go serve, and it was going to be an opportunity to actually go do like potentially real stuff. And to the point of, like, again, being nervous, but almost, I mean, remember, I don't know if you remember, like there was like rumors of like graduating early,
Yeah, I was just
and
gonna say that. Yeah.
like graduating early and getting called off and like heading out, like rolling out. And I think we were all excited about that, but also very nervous. Uh, so yeah, man, it was a crazy day for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I remember I was walking up, and I don't I don't remember the buildings, but I was out, like, way out by the library. I was going up the stairs, and a bunch of people were passing me the other way, going back to the hall, because it was such a far walk. I think they had people that were in the class you know, had heard or whatever they were doing. And I had this long walk to go to I think it was, I was an English major. Maybe I was going to library or something. I don't remember. But I was going up the stairs over kind of by the library, and people were flowing by me, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, what's going on? I saw someone in my class. I'm like, where are you guys going? Like, dude, you didn't hear? I'm like, no, man, I've been walking for like 10 minutes to get up here. Like, hey man, class, everybody, they're telling us to all go back to the hall. And I didn't really, like you said, it didn't really register. I didn't really, but I was like, I had a long walk. Um, excuse me, I had a long walk. So it wasn't, I didn't see the images. I hadn't seen anything. So I just turned around and started walking back. And I'm just like, I just remember just kind of walking by myself and just being confused. And then we get to the hall, and we're all huddled around, like in the wardroom, and just huddled around the TV, and it all flowing in. And yeah, that was the same thing. Like, hey, early graduation. And I'm like, man, I should have tried harder to service select Marine Corps, and like, because everybody's excited, and what does this mean for for our careers, and nobody anticipated 20 years, right? Like we thought we
Right.
were going to go hunt some terrorists and, kill some bad guys and move on, but nobody anticipated this whole escalation of, at least we didn't at the time. I didn't at the time. I shouldn't speak for anybody else. But it was crazy because there were so many rumors, and immediate graduation, seniors head out, and it was but yeah, it was very surreal. And then I think at that time only one plane had hit, and it was so confusing. And then at the second time, or the time of the second, we realized that, okay, this is real. And just the emotions were all over the place.
Yeah.
And that back then you didn't have kids, family, and none of these things. You just were kind of thinking about your career, thinking about moving forward and what that means, and the whole gamut of emotions from that point. So yeah, it
Well,
was
and there
crazy,
was,
man.
one of the rumors was also like the Naval Academy could be a target, right?
Yeah, they
And
locked it down, dude. They
locked it
locked it down.
down.
Yep.
And because, they were hitting DC and the Pentagon, and, you know, there was again rumors of potentially us being a target. And so, yeah, we were all on lockdown, and it was crazy, man. But yeah, you know, we obviously didn't graduate early, and we continued to serve. But yeah, it was like the start of a 20-year military career, all in war. And the class of 2001, that had just graduated, uh, like right at it, heading out. And then our classmates,
Yep.
like Marines, ground pounders, like the guys that didn't have to go to any school or anything like that ahead of time, like, dude, they were deploying like
Yep.
soon after, uh, after going to Quantico and stuff like that. But and we were right in it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And I think, for us, it's interesting because being in command now, a lot of my sailors that come in, it's just so foreign to me to imagine, um, I look around and to imagine that they didn't have associated feelings or memory of the event because it was so formative for us. But it'd be a lot of my sailors weren't even born yet.
Yeah.
I got these kids coming in. I say kids, these young adults coming in, and it's akin to us reading about the Vietnam War, right? Like, oh man, this Vietnam thing, it kind of sucked. Well, if you lived through it or you went to Vietnam, it's vastly different than reading about a textbook. Well, a lot of these young service members that I'm checking in every day and having conversations with, they it's part of their fabric, their what they learn about, but to them, it's not a memory. It's something they read about in a textbook, which is crazy to me. That's a long time. That's a long time to be to be at war, and for an event to like that, just to be, it's not something that they live through. So it's interesting, and it really did define our careers. It defined a lot of the efforts. And I personally didn't go to Afghanistan, but I went to Iraq during the surge there, and vastly different, vastly different location, situation, all that good stuff. But it was, those kind of went hand in hand, right? And that was the focus of the effort. It shifted to Iraq, and then back to Afghanistan. It shifted a few times, it seems like, but
Yeah.
but the whole period is, yeah, man, that was just defined our young and old careers up to this
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah, it's fun. We did a war room mastermind call yesterday, and typically we're talking about kind of real estate and business and some type of strategy, or but yesterday we actually just decided to just kind of reflect on 9/11. Similar to this, we kind of broke into breakout rooms and talked about stuff. And one of the questions that we kind of posed was, where were you when it happened, and how did you feel? What emotions were going through you? and similar, like, we have some pretty young folks in the young adults in the mastermind group. One of the guys in my group was in fourth grade uh, when it happened, and I think there's a few others that, like, second grade, and but it's interesting. They say they remembered it, as a second
Yeah.
grader, as a fourth grader, like they remember it, and it had an impact on them. And a lot of them say that it was probably one of the reasons why they ended up joining the service,
Mm.
because from that day forward, like, things changed, and like, America changed that day, you know, and it's interesting. I'll see posts from people in social media, doing 20 years of uh, you know anniversary, and one of the guys in our mastermind said something yesterday that I thought was incredibly interesting, and I've been thinking about it a little bit more. And he said, yeah, 9/11, or maybe September 12th, the day after, on 2001, felt like the last day that we could say that we were truly united as a country. And it seems like ever since then, there's been kind of this, I guess, break,
Mm.
of left versus right, and you know black versus white, and yeah, all this stuff. And I'm like, that's interesting. Um, and then, now I'm seeing some posts even this morning of like, hey, let's unite again. Let's, like, come together. It's 20 years of being ununited. Like, let's all be like Americans first, Americans forever. Oh, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting, and I've been really trying to be self-aware of my and this is an effort like within the last couple months, but be self-aware of my opinions and my feelings um about other people and their opinions and feelings about all these things that are very polarized, that in my opinion shouldn't necessarily be polarized. But it's interesting, and to that point, trying to be more empathetic to other people's point of view, and trying to as the Bible tells us, to be quick to listen, slow to speak. And
Yeah.
because I mean, me, dude, like, I mean, you know me for 25 years now. Like, I've not always been, nor am I now going to claim that I'm quick to listen and slow to speak.
Yeah.
But I have been realizing
And
lately,
slow to anger.
slow to anger, and none of those are me. But when you look around and you realize that a lot of things that are causing us to not be united, and a lot of the prevailing emotions are anger. Like, people are very angry today, and we don't have, it's almost like we've lost the ability to have civil discourse over something like a vaccine, right? And we are able to politicize everything. And now, even in command, I'm dealing with the political views of people that don't want to get a shot, and they are going through exemption process. And our chaplain, again, I'm not going to offer any kind of political opinion, because it's not, that's one of the best things about being in the military is the order came down and we execute.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, get out. To
Yeah.
100% volunteer force, or let me know and I'll help to administratively separate you, because that's a process, right? Like, the order is an order. And so our chaplain has been is a educated man, and has educated himself on the medical process and the study and background of all the shots that we get as military members. That's another thing about the military, man. You line up and it's like, you're like a pin pad.
Yeah.
We did it at the Naval Academy. There's those huge lines at Alumni Hall. We just went from one station to the next.
Yeah.
And right when we checked on, and just getting shots, all kinds of shots. And so he's asking these a lot of these holdouts, like that, not holdouts, but people that are seeking religious exemption, so they have to go through the chaps. And he's like, okay, well, he's not saying like, he's not asking him about this vaccine. He's going back and saying, well, what do you know about the hepatitis? What do you know about this? What do you know about that? And then he's outlining all the the things that these people willingly took, and is like, no, I'm not going to grant you. This is not. You clearly have an ulterior motive. Whatever. That being said, what's interesting is just the polarization of that thing. Like even the fact that he has to go to that extreme, and I don't want to say extreme, but he has to go to that level to have just a conversation with these military members. And it's this anger, right, about everything. Like you can get angry about everything right now. And I think that, why I've been reflecting so much on it is how do I become a person that my immediate reaction is not one of anger, but is one of how can I be of help? And you look at this Afghanistan situation, and one of the things that I think we lose sight of, and we were having a conversation the other day with somebody who's very involved in flying people, literally flying all those airplanes you saw on the news. He was flying one of those.
Yeah.
And some of the different organizations that we'll talk about here in a few. But I think what we lose sight of is these are human beings that are getting onto an airplane, and sometimes without their family members, and they have nothing. Nothing. Not even, he said maybe a couple people had backpacks, and their entire life is uprooted, and they're going somewhere else because that alternative, or that course of action, that choice is better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And I think when you try to be empathetic and you try to be a human being in any of these conversations, even if you disagree, even if there's somebody who is completely anti-vax and you ask them, and you're completely pro, whatever side you're on, or vice versa, and you just ask that person, hey, why? Let's emotion free. Like, just tell me about yourself and why you don't want to do this thing. And maybe you'll learn something, and maybe you'll listen, and maybe it'll change your view, and you don't come to conclusions and start labeling people. And I'm trying to be more like that, right? I'm trying to be more like, okay, how can I love you? I think that's an important question. How can I love you?
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, that I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it has forced me to step back and like shut my opinion down for a second and just think of, the situation. A lot of these people that I potentially am judging or getting angry at, like maybe there's a situation going on that you don't understand, and maybe they have nothing, and maybe they have no hope, and maybe they have no anything. Now, what can I be to that person? Can I serve them, or can I just pile onto that and be a jerk? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think the key to that is giving as well. I think when you start looking outward and you actually like write checks, or you give time and you give energy, that is the antidote to anger and to materialism and self-focus, right? The giving piece, I think, is so powerful. And it really can change the way you look at those around you.
Yeah. That's, I mean, we talked about that on the last podcast we did with Hannah Stoles, and how to, that personally can move right into running a business, right? And like if you put love at the forefront of your business, and how to just figure out how to serve, how to serve people, how to serve your community, how to serve your clients, your employees, your partners, um, instead of like cheating them out of something, or doing whatever you can to make you wealthy, your bottom line bigger. Uh, yeah, it's interesting, man. But yeah, I don't want to disparage the fact and idea that um, there is a lot of people uniting today, and through this period, talk going back to Afghanistan and 9/11, and now evacuating out of Afghanistan. Man, there's some really cool things going on. Like there's some amazing organizations doing amazing things, and there's some people that are coming together and bonding and uniting, and going and doing some pretty rad stuff. Like I think we can all admit that we probably didn't do this evacuation thing the 100% right way, right? And there's been some mistakes. And again, no political views here, but there are some people that, non-military, uh, maybe veterans, civilians, not nonprofit organizations that have like come together and have taken action and just like stepped up in a time of need, um, to love each other. Right now they're going to like help and serve people in Afghanistan. I just think it's super cool, man. I think, with all this other like, you know, headbutting and fighting about views and thoughts, there's still this, there still is this time of being united and going and helping and serving. And I've been really encouraged to see some of these stories of people like literally putting a backpack on, flying to Afghanistan with no plan, and joining, with some other countries and other forces, and like just getting after it, right?
But I loved, I was reading, I can't remember the guy's name, but one of the stories, um, the dude that partners with Tim Kennedy, what's his name? Um, Nick Palmiciano.
Yeah, Palmiciano. Yeah, West Point
And
grad, right?
yeah, West Point grad. And he, I think it was him, and he said, hey, him and Tim and these other organizations, or other people got together and like, hey, let's take action, let's do this thing. They came up with what they were going to do. And then he's, in the article said, hey, last hurdle was we had to clear it with our wives. And his wife was like, go, you have to do this, but I'll be pissed if you die or something like that. And be pissed off if you get killed over there. But I'll tell
Promise me
you,
you'll never die.
promise me you'll never die. But I think, that's one of the things that I think is so interesting. And I think is really powerful is if you feel strongly, like take action in something, and this morning, I hadn't been tracking it, but you said someone donated money to the DAF, that's going to enable us to give to an organization that is important, whether it's a veteran based or it's human trafficking, or some of these organizations that are specifically helping a lot of the refugees. I think I was so encouraged by that. I was so we were about to start this call, and like my mic's not working. This USB port is saying it's power surged, and I'm just like, you know, I'm getting annoyed on a
Getting
Sunday morning.
angry. You're
I
getting
am getting
angry
angry.
by a
I'm like, this
computer.
stuff is garbage. It's not working. We have a podcast to record and blah, blah, blah. And then you said that, man, and I was just like, it totally turned my whole heart around, because it just shows like it's just a step, right? It's an action step. And I think that's what I'm encouraged by. I'm encouraged by action. You read about these folks that are doing what they believe to be the right thing and taking action, and they're helping people, right? They're not putting posts on social media saying how horrible everything is. And I strongly object, and I'm going to put, these posts highlighting my anger. They're doing something about what it is that they're passionate about. And I would encourage people to do that. like take some action. If you have a strong opinion, this is another area where I'm really like, I'm trying to really focus on, okay, if you have a strong opinion about, what are you doing about it? What are you doing
Yeah.
about it? If you're not doing anything about it, then stop talking about it.
Yeah.
If you're super passionate on social media about racism and you're not doing anything, you're not part of any group, you're not part of educating yourself and trying to educate others, you're not doing something about it, like then what are you really doing, right? Or if it's child children's rights or advocacy, like where are you giving your time, where are you giving your money, what are you doing about it? If it's Afghan, the Afghan refugees, and I would just encourage people to do something. Actions speak louder than words, right? We could talk all day, and that's what I think that's part of the problem, is people are talking all day and they're tying to whatever news outlet is telling them an opinion, how they should feel about things, and whether it's Fox or CNN or CNBC, who whatever. I don't watch any of them anymore because it,
Yeah.
it just drives me nuts. But what are you doing about it? And I think there's a lot of positive. I'm not saying that to be negative in any way. I'm saying, hey, there are highly capable, highly qualified individuals, even listening to this, that are doing amazing things. What are you doing about it? And if the answer is nothing, well, then I would offer, then stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little bit
You gotta get
harsh.
you gotta get your dopamine hit, to see how many likes you get on social
Yeah,
media by
right.
posting something.
Yeah, and really
Like,
make
come on,
no
man.
impact, right? Really make no impact, because I mean, all that is you can talk to the right people and they'll make you feel good all day about your opinions,
Yeah.
because they agree with you. But I would love to see an opportunity. And I'll tell you, I get discouraged by how hard it is just to have conversations. And again, a lot of times I contribute to the negative side of that. But I think as we reflect on 9/11, we see these organizations doing things like, you look at one of the great examples during 9/11, like what did those firefighters and a lot of those police officers, man, they went on a suicide mission.
Yeah.
They just went and they did it, right? Because in the moment, that's what they felt was right, and they were drawn to it, and so they executed. And there's countless stories of people doing that throughout the entire history of our last 20 years of war, of people going and serving and doing things, huge sacrifice and impact. And I think there's still an opportunity to do that stuff. And there's awesome organizations that we can connect people with. There's a whole list of them that we're looking at, that we're tracking, that we potentially want to give to the DAF. There's different briefings that you and I sit in separately. Like I'm sitting in these reaching unreached nations, the Run group, just hearing the updates and what they're doing. Exodus Road, like all these different things. I'll encourage you to do some research, plug in, and if it's not money, maybe it's your skill set, maybe it's your time, maybe it's your perspective, maybe it's your connections, and do something about it. Because I'll tell you, that is the antidote. I mean, it is. There's nothing more true than when you start focusing outward, man, it changes your whole perspective. And it was interesting. Rick Warren, I always talk about Rick Warren, but he said that love and hope, he was talking about how many times love was in the Bible and hope, and it was like combined maybe like 500 times.
Yep.
He said, give, the word, the call to giving in the Bible was over 2,000. He goes, why is that? Why is that? Think about that. And so if we're called to give, whatever that means, money, time, effort, and it's over 2 times, shows up over 2 times more than things like love and faith and hope. I mean, it was an interesting point.
Kind of important.
Kind of. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends if you think the Bible's important or not. But even if you don't, like, I think, it's telling for sure. It's telling.
Yeah. Yesterday when I did this stair climb here in Colorado, and there were firefighters that were there in like full gear, full battle rattle, like hoses and axes and oxygen bottles, and like, I mean, it looked heavy. And I went into the morning planning on
Yeah.
it. So where I did it it's 200 steps, and so my plan was to do uh, was it 2200. And I started the day with like, all right, I'm gonna do 5 up, 5 down, which will, or 5.5 up, 5.5 up down, which would add up to 200 total, kind of up and down. And then I saw, was talking to firefighters and encouraging them, and then like one of them was like, yeah, I'm gonna do 7. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do 10. And
And
then
you're
I was
like,
talking,
wait, just to clarify, is that like 1, 2, or is that
yeah,
one?
yeah, that's what exactly. And then they're like, no, we're doing 11 because that's, past the mark. 11, like up and down is 1, up
Yeah.
and down 2. And I was like, oh man. And I mean, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
And but like, I got super motivated, and I started like really thinking about like these guys with full gear, huge heavy hoses and axes, slowly to going like one at a time. And it like really made me reflect on just like what you're talking about. These guys are on suicide missions, man, like climbing up the World Trade Center, probably knowing they're not going to come back, but in hopes that they will save one person. um and like, I just started going faster. And like, my cousin was with me, and our buddy Byron, and they're like, dude, you're an animal. And like, I just kept on going faster. And like, I got done with I did 11 because I was just fired up seeing these firefighters doing this. And I probably could have done more, just because like I was just like in this like emotional state and feeling kind of overwhelmed, but like just fired up to like do something to remember 9/11 and these guys and these firefighters like doing this stuff. And so I think, reflecting on that now that I'm like, my legs are like super sore and my back hurts and my shoulders hurt and my whole body hurts from doing it. Um, like, I think, just like you said, man, like, if you have a thoughts or an emotions or feelings towards something, like, you got to take action and you got to do something about it. And 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 like, put service in others first. And um, I think if we do that, and if we start really looking at the world a little bit differently, of how to like, how do you love someone, how do you serve someone first before others. um, and I think it can make a huge difference in like all this stuff going on.
Yeah, man. And I think it's important when most people want the same things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like most people, and even in the extremes of um, warfare. And of course, there are people. There's extremists. There's bad people everywhere. But when you break it down to the human element, when you go talk to your neighbors, you may be on vastly opposite sides of the political spectrum. And in my neighborhood in Colorado, like there are like I know, and usually you can tell by the flags flying in the front yard. But the
Yeah.
great equalizer to that is children. And when
Mm.
your kids become friends with their kids, whoever they are, the other, then you start talking,
Yeah.
right? And because you kind of have to. And for me, like I'll talk to anybody. It's not really that's not really a thing. But
Yeah.
you notice, and you're like, man, you're a good dude. You're are my judgments are my own downfall. My preconceived opinion of what if you fly a Biden or a Trump flag, whatever my preconceived thoughts of that are probably pretty wrong, because you're a very complex human being who wants to care for your family. You want peace in your neighborhood, and you want your safety for those that you love, and you want people to thrive. You want opportunity for them. You want security. Like, we want the same things.
Yeah.
And typically when you break it down, you just try to get to a human level of having a conversation, like you can find that we have a lot more in common than we have that we disagree with. So I've been trying, because people, especially today, they want to go into the vaccine conversation, want to go into, well, what's your opinion of Afghan? Like, I'm like, how are your kids doing?
Yeah.
How is soccer? Like something that's actually like, where we could, to find the things we relate on are vastly outnumber. They vastly outnumber the things that we disagree with, potentially vaccines and political party.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think I think if we all just kind of took a step back, and you don't even have to be a Christian or read the Bible, but I think be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to get anger is a pretty universal thing. It's almost as universal as treat others as you would want to be treated.
Golden rule, baby.
Golden rule, right?
Teach my 3-year-old
that's in
that every single morning, every single day.
That's in the Bible, right? That's in the Bible. But
that's
people, they're okay with that one too. So, and I think if we all just kind of took a step back and just like maybe just listen a little bit more and came at it with a slightly different attitude, and not to be heard in every single conversation, not waiting to be heard. It encourages me that it could be pretty awesome. And so if one person does, it's almost like the Exodus road, man. They're like the number of people is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the Stones, remember we had that conversation when we went to their office. He's like, it's so overwhelming. We don't feel like we're making a splash. And he said, but look at all these stones. All these stones represent a kid that's saved. And there's thousands now. I think it was 1,500 or something like that.
1,500.
Yep. 1,500 stones around their office, each with a name on it.
Yeah.
That's 1,500 people that just them taking action and deciding that the problem, it's a huge problem, but we're going to address it. There's 1,500 people that have been freed. That's awesome.
Yeah. Super awesome.
So I think the small actions, they'll you can motivate others. And if we motivate people to give, like, I'm so pumped up that someone gave to the DAF, dude. Like, that just like fires me up. Even if it was $10, which in this case, it wasn't $10. Like, I'm blown away by the generosity. But even if it's $5-10, $5-10 from how many people are in the war room?
Over 100. Like
over
110, 115.
So, I mean, you could easily get $500,000 like that, and for a cup of coffee, right? For a Starbucks.
Yeah. So
I don't know, man. I think the small actions, they really compound, and I think things like you look at 9/11 that day, the billions and billions of tiny actions that made huge impacts to save lives, and as you go, as we kind of close this chapter out in our careers, our lives, like, how do we be better? How are we better? What are we doing to be better? And if we're not holding each other accountable to that, then what are we doing? Are we just feeding each other's opinions? I don't know. Is there a better use of our time? Is there a better ROI?
Stroking each other's egos.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I don't do for you. I try to humble you.
Yeah.
Often to remind you of your ear hair and your it's good. Bringing it back, bring it full circle.
Bring it back. Right now.
Yeah, man, I think this was good to, we just wanted to have a conversation today. There was no real, we didn't plan it out. There weren't any show notes. It was just, hey man, it's 9/11. Let's just have a conversation, reflect, and all these different things. Is it shows how impactful it was. It kind of weaves its way through the fabric of a lot of our decision making, whether it's giving or our choice to stay in for 20 years of service, like all these things, how we talk to our children, all these different, the ways it's entwined in our life, and the things we do when we go like to New York City. There's a million things we could have done in New York, but one of them we chose to go to this memorial because it's such an important part of our lives, and sharing that with our children.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. I kind of want to end this as well by really just saying thank you, to those that are listening that have served, that are serving, and not only just in the military, but first responders, teachers, parents. There's so many different ways that we can serve each other and serve our nation. And for those that are in it, I appreciate you. I thank you. And for those that lost loved ones in that tragedy or in the last 20 years, I'll I say prayers fairly regularly for family members who lost loved ones, in these wars. And yeah, my heart is a little heavy this morning for those people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to start crying, but
no, it's heavy, and but I think what's awesome is there's a lot of hope in it. There's a lot of when you talk to some of these parents that have lost children, or you talk to brothers and sisters, a lot of times my experience has been that they will say something along the lines of, hey, they gave their lives for their best friends, and they gave their lives doing something they loved.
yeah.
And I think we've had classmates on our show that went over there and they're transformed forever from an IED, and then just changing their whole view on life. And what's Mr. Hale's first name? He pops in my head as well. Aaron Hale. Like, just people that have just taken, they a lot of people can look at their situation and be like, oh man, I don't know if I could do that. And then you see them thriving and doing amazing things. Like, it fires me up, and it shows the power of the human spirit to overcome. It shows our ability to be great. And so absolutely 100% thank you to all of our service members, current, past, and future. There's some young men and women out, I'm sure, that listen to this that are potentially on their way into the service. And just couldn't be more grateful to be associated with such amazing individuals. It's pretty awesome, pretty humbling. So
yeah, man,
stuff, man.
Well, we posted an article from NCF, National Christian Foundation, a few days ago on our Facebook page. And if you're not aware or following, we do have a Filling the Storehouse podcast Facebook group page, and we post a lot of stuff in there that comes from these podcast episodes, book recommendations, and guest little clips, and so just motivational stuff. And so we'd love for you guys to find the page and join us there. But we posted an article from NCF about a bunch of different organizations, nonprofit organizations that are doing amazing things, specifically in support of kind of the Afghanistan evacuation. But there's a lot of other ones too. There's ones that are helping Haiti, and any national disaster that goes on. And then Warriors Heart Foundation, who we support, is an amazing organization. Exodus Road, they're amazing. And I'm using amazing a lot this morning, but
you're amazing, Stuart.
You are amazing too. Anyways, hey, check this stuff out. Like, find something that you're passionate about and go take action. And we're going to start our Giving Together book adventure pretty soon. I think the goal is by the end of September, we're going to start chapter 1, and we'll probably post something in the Facebook group. We'll send out an email of when we officially start that. What we really like to do is almost kind of create almost like a small group where we're going to set up a Zoom call, and we're going to go a chapter at a time through this book, and figure out how we can all serve and give together and make an adventure out of it. So,
yeah, man. Yeah, and just for clarification, the NCF, that's where our DAF is through.
yeah,
That's
donor
so
advised
we also
fund.
have a donor advised fund. You can also give directly to that, and we're just trying to build that up and make some significant gifts to different organizations. So if that's something that you're interested in giving to, we'd love to um, to you know, pull that money and give it to some amazing causes. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. You're amazing. Have an amazing day. Stay amazing. Keep it amazing.
Watch
Amazing
out.
is,
Watch out for rhinoceroses.
dude. But what I know is that if I'm facing down a rhinoceros with a horn,
Uh-huh.
your Blackhawk will come get me.
Nighthawk. It's a Nighthawk.
Nighthawk.
Blackhawk is Army.
Like,
Nighthawk is Navy.
I thought it was a Seahawk.
Seahawk's the other version. Nighthawk is the
Yeah.
bigger, badder, better version.
I want the Seahawk to come get me.
No, Nighthawk.
Sounds. What if it's daytime? What if it's
Doesn't
daytime?
matter.
What's the Nighthawk going to do in the daytime?
Land on a rhinoceros.
Oh, dude, rhinoceros are endangered, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, land next to it and push it aside.
Your helicopters, you're gonna push a rhino with your helicopter?
Yeah, blow it with the rotor wash.
You're gonna blow away a rhinoceros. This thing literally weighs hundreds, thousands of pounds. You're just gonna blow it away.
All right, we're getting off topic here.
Yeah, I think you need to think about it a little bit, especially if you're going to be explaining it to your son, because you don't want to fill his head with dumb stuff. Okay, you want to fill his head with amazing stuff.
Okay, fair enough. Go fill your storehouse.
Hey, man, make it an amazing day.
Hey, if everyone would share this podcast episode and wish David a happy belated 42nd birthday when you share it on social media.
Yeah. And please don't be sad or have expectations that I will respond on Facebook. Yeah. In my heart, I'm giving you all my thanks and love. Thank you.
All right, guys, have an amazing day. Be amazing. Go do amazing things.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Fill your amazing storehouse.
That was amazing.
See you.